Right. Jennifer, can you confirm we've got a recording on?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. Good morning. Thank you guys for joining. Today, we're going to cover how we can leverage data visualization in the injection molding industry. We'll walk through some approach and then some specific dashboard demonstrations as well. Our agenda here today, we'll do an introduction on SVA consulting and our team. We'll cover why data visualization matters in the manufacturing space. Cooper will do a walkthrough of some specific dashboards as well in Power BI, and then we'll cover some practical next steps for you to get started at your own organization. So, a little bit about SVA Consulting. We are really working to help partner with organizations to power their business forward with purpose and passion. We've got several of our main practice areas listed here in the middle across business evolution, business applications, data analytics and visualization, life sciences, and AI enablement. And really, our overarching goal is to drive business evolution or digital transformation, and a lot of that working through data and visualizing that information as well so that your business can grow and move forward with information. And for introductions this morning, my name is Jacob McClendon. I'm a principal and director of analytics at SVA Consulting. And we've got Cooper Scat on here as well. He's an analytics engagement manager. Cooper will be walking through some real world examples of how to leverage data visualization and show some dashboards as well. And then specifically for our data analytics and visualization group, our overarching goal is to help businesses turn their information into knowledge so they can progress forward. So we act as one dedicated partner to help you get a single source of truth and open up limitless possibilities for your business using your data asset. And really, the four primary pillars that we accomplish this are through data strategy, architecture, visualization, and AI enablement. So we really help you plan, organize, and visualize your data. And then using AI, we can help activate that as well to get you strategically moving forward with your data asset. So today, what we'll really highlight are the first three buckets where we can help plan to use data to progress you forward. We'll help you build out data architecture as well, and then visualize that information for real-time insights. So, Cooper, I will pass it over to you.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Jacob, for the introduction to SVA and what the purpose of this webinar is today. So yeah, like Jacob said, we're going to talk a little bit more about why data visualization matters and is so important and valuable in the manufacturing space. All right. So yeah, the core kind of challenge we see with a lot of manufacturers today is, you've got ERPs, embedded systems, tons of different systems generating thousands, millions, billions of rows of data every day, every minute. But really, the ability to gain quick insights into that data is very limited, um, both by processing power. A lot of these ERPs are hiding that data and making it difficult to access. And you'll go to run a report and it'll take hours or days before you can actually get some insight or visibility into that information that you've been generating. And then also just the fact that a lot of those systems are disconnected, right? So you might have your ERP and your CRM and some Excel spreadsheets managed by plant managers, all sitting kind of in different little silos, and really making it super difficult or even impossible to get kind of a comprehensive view into how your organization is performing, how your floor is running, and just generally how you're doing managing your factory floor and your overall business. And so we see, instead of making decisions driven by data and actual solid evidence, a lot of times we're making decisions based on kind of gut feel and insight. Um, so Why data visualization matters in manufacturing. Like we said, one, it'll help to drive performance within manufacturing. It's much easier to make a well-educated decision on how you're going to run your factory floor once you have that kind of instant visibility into those key metrics that we're looking at with manufacturing, right? So like efficiency, quality, utilization, and then that overall effectiveness of your equipment. Alongside that, it'll help reduce costs, right? When we have a machine or BOM that's running poorly, the quicker we can identify that issue and kind of escalate it to through the right channels or go and address it, the quicker we can cut down on lost revenue and increased costs. And then alongside that, right, we can look into historic trends a little more easily. And that helps us identify things that have happened in the past and prevent them from happening again in the future. And then the last kind of pillar there of that is the accelerated decision making. So a team that is kind of bolstered by that timely and relevant data, we'll be able to more quickly address things that are costing a firm money or not generating revenue, really just reducing the overall amount of time it takes us to get to a decision. We hear time is money, right? So that's kind of how we address that. Okay, so let's talk through kind of how we get there, right? How do we get from our raw data to actual action? So really the core kind of foundation of every good analytics build is a solid data strategy, right? So that's where we gather together our core stakeholders, the people who would be most impacted by having better availability of information, get them all together, align on what are kind of the key reporting themes across all of our different branches of the business, so finance and accounting, the manufacturing floor managers, plant managers, schedulers, kind of get everyone into a room and make sure that everyone is aligned on what's important to them. Walk through what systems do we have out there that have data sitting in them that we can't currently report across. And then kind of finally align on what those key metrics are for each person and make sure that we have clear definitions of those. Another problem we see a lot of times is everyone is defining a KPI a little bit different across the business, and so you don't have that consistent reporting. And so when we're able to align an organization on that, it really helps set the stage for solid reporting. Following from that, we go through and design the data architecture to support that strategy. So really that's kind of figuring out the how do we get there. So that's where we'll look at our different systems, identify, what type of resources we need to put in place to support the type of reporting that we want to do. Figure out how frequently do we need to be pulling from certain systems. How do we match data across systems? How do we integrate those systems together into a single place? And then understand, what reporting tool are we going to put on top of it? Where is it that data ultimately going to live? What reports are we going to generate? All that. The next step is actually putting those first two things into action. So looking at our different sources of data, each of those things that were previously siloed and beginning to extract that data into kind of a centralized data repository. So we set up, scheduled polls, real-time polls to get the data into a single place where we can then, instead of, previously pulling data into Excel spreadsheets from a few different sources and kind of trying to merge it together there, we can just have this automation happening that makes it so we have this immediate centralized place to look at our data. Then building on top of that, again, from that strategy and architecture design, we would model the underlying data into a format that best supports what we want to report on, right? So that's going to be tables that just kind of allow us to most easily report on the things we need to report on. Some of the things that we see happening here a lot are like snapshotting of data. A lot of systems don't like natively support the ability to look back at past data. Sometimes, you update a a forecast, and then the next day you update the forecast and the old one's gone. So this is kind of where we develop that logic to make sure what we've put into a centralized data repository is going to support those KPIs that we outlined in the strategy, and that it's going to do what we need it to do to get to those insights we want. Then finally, we build out these data visualizations and dashboards and reports to answer those questions from that kind of initial data strategy. So this is where we align on what's the right way to show something, build it, and then kind of work through an iterative review process with our stakeholders. Make sure that each organizational function has the data and visualizations they need to quickly answer their questions. And really kind of just centralizes the whole decision-making process, right? So instead of previously going to a few different places to get your information, you kind of land in one spot, look at a few dashboards, and be prepared to optimize your day. All right. From here, we're going to walk through a quick actual real-world case study and then show kind of what we developed there to help them answer some of the questions they had. So this example we're going to walk through, it was a healthcare plastics manufacturer. So injection molding, kind of that core challenge again was their current system wasn't really getting them the data fast enough. They had the ability to get to some of the things they wanted to see, but they'd be waiting hours or days just to see, was a bomb running consistently? And then by the time they're seeing that again, it's not really actionable anymore. They've already lost hundreds or thousands of dollars and spent resources. And also outside of that, we've got siloed definitions of metrics and calculations. So finance and accounting, manufacturing, not necessarily totally agreeing on what each individual KPI means. So the solution we built out there was very similar to what we just outlined, basically. A process that extracts data from their systems, lands it into a centralized data warehouse, and then some reports and dashboards were built on top of that, all within the Microsoft Fabric ecosystem. The result there was basically hitting on exactly the challenges they were facing before, right? So reducing the amount of time it took to see things like variance, consolidating to a single source of truth. So each person is looking at the same set of reports, the same metrics. There's no questions across functions about what how we're calculating OEE, how we're defining part quality, things like that. And then additionally, just kind of reducing that manual reporting effort, right? So previously there would be analysts spending hours pulling data from a few different systems, consolidating it, doing some manual calculations in Excel, and then handing that off to someone to go, try and action something that was relevant 8 hours ago, but now that opportunity has passed. So we'll walk through a few different dashboards here. The first one will show machine performance. So it'll give us a quick kind of overview of how our machines are performing today, historically, and then allow us to drill into specific items within those machines, so specific BOMs, and kind of get an idea of how those BOMs have performed historically. That way we can, again, see if we're seeing a trend or if we're just seeing an outlier. We'll look at a material variance dashboard that shows us BOMs that are performing both poorly and positively on the variance side of things. We'll be able to see what's driving those variances. And again, kind of by surfacing the most impactful BOMs first, we can direct our attention to what's most important that day. And finally, we'll look at a dashboard that gives us a view of our schedule adherence. So the idea here was to enable a team of schedulers to kind of see how close they've been on the scheduling side of things over the past month and see, over time their schedule changes. So basically trying to see how close they are over time. And again, kind of just enabling them to, in the future, do a better job of scheduling so that they can better optimize their resources. All right, so let me jump to Power BI. Okay, so to start, we've got the machine performance dashboard we just outlined. So the idea here is, a plant manager can kind of jump in here, filter down to their site and quickly see, okay, what's going on yesterday, what's going on today, and what's been going on the past month. And not only, be able to talk about that, but be able to see it. So we've got a few high-level KPIs at the top that allow them to see just generally what's going on. How are we trending on some of our key KPIs, availability, performance, quality, and then the roll up into overall equipment effectiveness. How are we utilizing our machines, right? So we can see it's a percentage, what percentage of our machines are we properly utilizing? What type of downtime are we seeing? We can look at an outlier here. And kind of quickly see what's driving that percentage utilization, what type of downtime is causing that. Um, so if we wanted to, we could pick one of these options. We could say, uh, we're looking at the last day of the month here, and quickly filter down to that and see what specific work order and BOM are driving that downtime. We can see we've got this BOM that had over 8 hours of downtime in a 12-hour shift. Um, so our question might be, one, we've seen that the downtime there was no description. So again, first of all, we're highlighting a data quality issue. And then second, we're kind of able to um, question, okay, is that a recurring issue? Is this a machine that's constantly having downtime issues? Is the BOM that's always having downtime issues? Um, so what we can actually do is kind of right click on this BOM, drill through, and go take a look at the historic performance of this BOM. And right away, we can see that historically, this BOM is running at 48% availability. So really kind of underperforming probably against what we would expect there on average. Um, and so that should set off some alarm bells like, okay, this BOM's constantly having downtime. We probably need to review this and see if there's some issue with this that's causing machines to fail constantly and require downtime. And then additionally, we can also just kind of see historically our shifts that we've run this, how has it been performing from a quality perspective, and then get an idea of like overall when this BOM is running, how are our machines running? So next we can jump to material variance. So that first one really is that, plant manager perspective, or even managing just a cell of machines, how are those machines performing? Here, we may be looking from like a plant manager's perspective where they're most concerned with trying to save money. Right away, what we're doing here is highlighting costs. So material variance is one of the places where manufacturers can easily be losing money without a ton of insight into it. And so the purpose of this dashboard is to highlight those variances quickly, so that you can action them before they become a larger issue or before a BOM runs to completion and you've already missed the chance to action that. So if we look here at the top, we can kind of see a historical trend of variance at our site. Over to the right, we've got details there showing what's making up those variances. So whether they're shift variances related to BOMs not running exactly to spec, scrap coming off of those machines, or if it's just an accounting backflush or something like that. Down here in the bottom left is really where we get the ability to kind of see the specific BOMs that are making up that variance. There's a couple different ways we can look at it, right? Right now we're looking at our highest cost variances, but another way we might be interested in seeing this is filtering to look at our BOMs where that variance is the largest percentage of the overall value of those parts. So we can look at this part right here. Two things that we quickly see. One, a high negative or unfavorable material variance. And then two, this little icon here is telling us that this BOM is actually still running. So we can quickly say, okay, this is something that we have the opportunity to fix still. We can expand this and see where this is running. So we can see it's running on our Gen 016 machine. And then kind of from there, we can, quickly head down to the floor and go see, what's going on with this machine, what's causing this material variance and kind of, address it from there. And again, we can see the BOM still running. So it's a good way for us to be able to address something that we actually still have time to fix. And then finally, we will take a look at schedule adherence. So, like I mentioned before, the idea here is really to give our schedulers the ability to judge their performance. This was a particular topic that even with, heavy manual reporting, the team didn't actually have the ability to see because a lot of systems will kind of overwrite schedules and forecasts every time you load a new one. So here we implemented some custom logic to snapshot their uh, schedule every day. That way they have insight into both how they're performing a schedule, how that schedule has changed over time. So at the top here, we've got a pretty cool chart showing overall our actual production hours. And then you can kind of see you've got your schedule 7 days prior, your schedule 3 days prior, and then your schedule the morning of or right before that shift started. And it allows us to see, the black line is kind of tracing what actually happened. And then from there, we can track and see um, how our schedule has shifted over time. So we could see here, for example, 7 days prior, we were forecasting or scheduling 78 hours. 3 days prior, we had bumped it up a little bit to 83, and then day of, we had dropped down to 81 hours. So we might be interested to know, what's causing that. So if we pop down here to the bottom, we've got a little bit more detail. If we're looking at, for example, our schedule on June 10th, we can see we expand our June 10th day. This was our schedule June 10th, kind of the morning of, and we can see for each work center what we had scheduled to run, how long we had scheduled to run it, and then what actually happened. So, we can see this first bomb ran almost perfectly, almost perfectly to schedule. Basically, the only kind of variance was a slight dip in parts. And then our second bomb here ran not at all. It was down for the entire shift. So that's one where we might want to click in and find out what happened there. We can see we had some unscheduled maintenance. We probably had some scheduled maintenance that was supposed to happen. That ran a little over, and then this unscheduled piece and no description piece probably just that maintenance ran over or an issue couldn't be resolved right away. Um, so yeah, again, really giving some insight into something that previously wasn't available, and just giving a team the ability to kind of audit themselves, understand how they're doing, and be able to drive better scheduling performance, again, to make sure that, if we're scheduling more accurately, then we can better plan for the future, better utilize our resources, and just in general ensure we're running a more efficient manufacturing floor. Going to jump back to the slides. Okay. So out of this, the question hopefully is, okay, so how can I help us get there? What are the practical next steps for someone watching this right now to take within their organization to kind of start getting their organization into the place they want to be? So again, it really goes back to those kind of keys, steps that we outlined in the beginning, right? Work internally to identify those key information silos, understand where your data is residing right now. If you're honestly, one of the best places to start is probably with your analysts because they're the ones who are probably pulling data from all those different places and putting it together right now. Um, Align on what data you guys are using to report on now and align on, what isn't currently available to you, either because it's just not able to be integrated with your current data or you just don't have visibility into it right now. Align on what data helps address these reporting gaps that you have. Design and develop that data architecture. That would be, planning, looking at those systems, understanding how to get the data out of them, uh, figuring out where it's going to go, and then building out those pipelines to get that data where it needs to go. And then finally building out those actionable data visualizations that we showed. So get you as close as possible to real time or to real time, and understand, how your floor is performing, how your company is performing, and again, kind of get away from that manual reporting and into the real time visualizations. Um, Out of this, if you're interested in continuing the conversation here or want some help, with those practical next steps, We've got a QR code on the left here. That'll let you set up a free consultation with our team to kind of help continue this analytics conversation and help you guys get moving in the right direction. Um, at the beginning, we outlined, kind of what happens after visualization, or like what the next step is, and that's putting some AI on top of that and getting to even more insights. On December 16th, we've got a crack the code on AI in your business webinar running, so we'll learn a little bit more about AI there. Um, and then obviously feel free to contact us. We've got our website listed, and then Jacob and I's emails, as well as a general email. You can message at SVA to get in touch with us. So at this point, happy to field any questions in the chat.
Yeah, Cooper, I think we had one come in. Someone asking about what's been the biggest impact that you've seen data visualization provide in the manufacturing industry?
Sure. Yeah. What I've seen the most is really it gets to that. Getting away from those long running reports and getting to uh, visualizations and insights faster. Manufacturing is all about optimization, and so the quicker you can get access to insights into where you're losing money, the quicker you can stop losing money and start addressing those issues. So
Yeah, I think that's great. And really just getting everyone acting from that same core information as well, generating alignment, and you get those operational efficiencies at that point too.
sure.
Awesome. Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions. So thank you guys for joining today. Cooper, thank you so much for the walkthrough of the architecture side and the dashboard side as well. Again, any questions, feel free to reach out and contact us, and have a good day.
Thanks for joining.